Hey everyone! Today we're exploring another chilling and disturbing case. If you'd like to support the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay engaged. It really means a lot. I truly appreciate it. Now, take a deep breath and let's dive in. A promising medical student, a powerful church, a staged suicide, and a brother who disappeared, only to come back with a plan for revenge. This is a story of how one man infiltrated the very system that protected his sister's killer, and what he uncovered shook an entire country. Stephanie Adeyemi was 21, smart, focused, and days away from graduation, top of her class, a future doctor, engaged to David Osifo, the son of Pastor Benjamin Osifo, leader of House of Restoration Ministries, a megachurch with over 50,000 members. On a Thursday morning, her lifeless body was found hanging from a ceiling fan in her one-room apartment in Lagos. The police said suicide. Her brother Michael said no way. She had just received a full scholarship to study in the UK. She was planning her future. And the week before she died, she told me something I'll never forget. Stephanie, on phone, "If anything happens to me, Michael, tell Mom I didn't do it." At the center of it all, Pastor Benjamin Osifo and his son, David, respected, worshipped, untouchable. But behind the stained glass windows was something far more sinister. Stephanie had just broken off the engagement. She was pregnant, and she had uncovered a string of affairs and abuse tied directly to the church, including underage girls coerced in the name of spiritual purification. She threatened to go public. That was the last thing she ever said to David. Michael disappears, leaves Nigeria. No one hears from him for 2 years. But he didn't run. He was building a new identity, studying cybersecurity, training, watching. Then he returned as a media volunteer inside the church. For 3 more years, Michael worked under a false name, gaining access to the pastor's private circle, collecting passwords, documents, recordings, and even financial data. What he found: multiple shell companies, fake miracle reports, a hidden discipline room beneath the main auditorium, and girls, young girls. Stephanie was going to expose it all, and they silenced her. Hidden audio recording, David Osifo drunk. She was going to ruin us. She said she had proof. My dad said, if she talks, we all burn. Pause. He said, do what must be done. God will forgive the sin. With that audio, journal scans, bank transfers, and even the original handwritten suicide note that never made it into evidence, Michael walked into police headquarters 5 years after Stephanie's death. Within 48 hours, Pastor Benjamin Osifo was arrested. David Osifo was arrested. 3 church elders were detained. The megachurch was shut down by authorities. Michael thought it was over, until 2 weeks later, text message received. You're digging in the wrong grave. She wasn't the first, and she wasn't the last. The truth goes deeper. Michael replays the audio. Investigators traced the message to a burner phone left in a locked locker in the church's old storage wing. That room hadn't been opened in over 6 years. Behind a false wall in the baptismal room, authorities found a sealed compartment. Inside, 14 cassette tapes, a torn church ledger, and a list of names. All girls, all teenagers, all connected to the church between 2012 and 2017. Many of them were reported missing. Some were labeled as runaways. Others never spoken of again. One of those names was Chinaza Duru, reported missing at age 15. Her case was cold for 8 years. Chinaza, they kept us in what they called restoration rooms. We weren't allowed outside. Every time we asked about our parents, they said, you are chosen for a higher purpose. Some girls never came back after counseling with the pastor. Chinaza escaped in 2019, but she stayed hidden, terrified of what the church would do. It wasn't until she saw Michael's story on the news that she came forward. Investigation reveals the torn ledger recovered from the baptism room had payment records, 250,000 Nigerian nairas to 800,000 Nigerian nairas per girl. Payments labeled sponsorships and sacrifice entries. Money moved through fake ministries, laundered through construction projects. It wasn't just abuse. It was trafficking, hidden beneath scripture, enabled by silence, protected by power. And worse, some of the payments led back to prominent figures, politicians, celebrities, and even law enforcement officers listed as donors. When authorities raided a private estate linked to the pastor's brother, they discovered an underground file room, surveillance tapes, photos, dossiers of girls. One file was marked Stephanie Adeyemi, status unstable, risk level high. She had found it. She knew everything. That's why they had to silence her. Pastor Benjamin once preached that pain is the door to spiritual power. His private sermons, leaked by Michael, reveal he believed suffering purified women, especially those called into covenant. Pastor Benjamin, recording, they are vessels. God will use them for his purpose, and they will be rewarded in the afterlife. Pain is temporary. Holiness is eternal. It wasn't just evil. It was systematic psychological grooming under the guise of salvation. The government task force began to investigate other churches founded by former sons of Pastor Benjamin. Out of 12 registered branches, 7 showed signs of similar abuse patterns. And at the center of all of them was a mysterious benefactor only referred to as PB. But there was a problem. Pastor Benjamin was already in custody. And David Osifo, dead, found poison in his cell, days before trial. Michael receives an envelope at his doorstep, no return address. Inside, a photo of a teenage girl, a location pin in Kaduna, and a message. She's still alive. You failed the first one. Don't fail this one too. Michael immediately reported the message, but the police were hesitant. No evidence, no name, just a photo of a terrified teenage girl. So he went himself, with the help of Chinaza, the survivor from Part 2, and an NGO known for rescuing girls from religious cults. Michael arrived in Kaduna under a fake identity once again. The location pin led to a rural compound, registered as a faith discipleship retreat center. But it was anything but holy. High concrete walls, security guards in white robes, women separated by age and status, weekly cleansing rituals, no phones, no education, no contact with the outside world. They weren't allowed to speak without permission. Any attempt to escape was labeled demonic rebellion. Punishment followed, publicly, violently. And at the center of it all was a woman called Mama Zulai. Mama Zulai, a former midwife turned prophetess. She claimed to receive visions from God and told girls they were brides of divine punishment. She also happened to be Pastor Benjamin's half-sister. Michael and the rescue team learned that the girl in the photo was Amina Gabra, 14 years old. She'd been brought in from Zamfara after her father died mysteriously, just 1 month after he reportedly refused to donate to the ministry. Files recovered from the compound confirmed Amina's name and status. Initiate, virgin, reserved. Reserved for what? The answer shattered everything. One of the former compound cooks, a woman named Adiza, secretly contacted Michael's team. She wanted out, and she knew where Amina was being kept. The girls weren't just abused. They were selected, branded, and sold off in covenant ceremonies to high-ranking believers across Nigeria and Ghana. Adiza interview. They tell the girls it's their calling, that their bodies bring glory. They call it spiritual warfare, but it's slavery. The next ceremony? Scheduled for Friday night. It was Tuesday. Working with a private rescue group, Michael helped stage a nighttime raid. No police. They'd been tipped off in the past. 2 SUVs, 6 rescuers, cameras rolling. Michael in the lead, asterisk. Footage shows rooms with metal beds, surveillance photos of dozens of girls, and spiritual chants blaring from speakers 24/7. In one dark, concrete room, shaking, barefoot, and bruised, they found Amina. She couldn't speak. She'd been drugged, but she was alive. As they drove Amina away from the compound, Michael received another anonymous message. You saved one. You woke the others. Now we'll come for you. The next morning, a package arrived at a safe house in Abuja. Inside, a charred Bible, a USB drive, and a bullet. Michael waited until he reached a secure location. He scanned the USB twice for tracking tools, then opened it. Folders. Initiates underscore list XLSX. Payments.mp4. Donors underscore internal. .zip. Circle underscore board underscore meeting underscore audio. Wave. Children export. Docs. It wasn't just the Osifo ministry. It wasn't just the church. This was a network. Codenamed the Deep Circle. The files revealed an elite society operating beneath religious, political, and humanitarian fronts. Their goal? Control through fear, influence, and silence. Evidence from the USB included secret meetings held at high-end resorts, payments from prominent Nigerian politicians and foreign businessmen, shipment records linked to a fake orphanage NGO that never had a physical address, multiple pastors, school owners, and even a hospital director listed as verified suppliers of young girls. The file, childrenexport.docs, detailed instructions for international movement, using false medical referrals, and missionary travel permits. Michael scanned the donors list. What he saw broken. One of the listed contributors, 3.2 million Nigerian nairas sent to outreach number 17, was someone he trusted, his mother's pastor, the one who officiated Stephanie's funeral. Michael tried calling his mother to warn her, but she didn't answer. Michael leaked the data anonymously to an investigative journalist. The story broke, and Nigeria held its breath. Headlines: megachurch linked to international child trafficking ring. Government officials named in cult network. FBI investigating NGO ties to child smuggling. But instead of arrests, there was silence. Media houses pulled down the story. The journalist who published it vanished. 3 days after the leak, Michael's safe house was raided. No police badge, no warrant, just men in suits who said, "You've seen too much." Michael escaped through a back alley, went off-grid again. But they didn't just come after him. They froze his family's accounts. Arrested Chinaza, the survivor from Part 2, for false testimony. And worst of all, they declared Amina a mentally unstable minor and transferred her to an undisclosed facility. Michael opens the last file on a USB. Circle underscore board underscore meeting underscore audio .wave. Unknown male voice, calm, smug. Stephanie was a test. Michael is the consequence. But the real plan? That begins next year. The children were never the end game. They were just the beginning. Using decrypted files from a USB, Michael uncovered internal documents marked Operation Harvest, dated 3 years ago, co-signed by 5 key figures, including a former Minister of Health. Details included recruitment of 300-plus orphans between 2017 to 2023, false vaccinations and experimental treatments, behavioral control, studies in northern rehabilitation camps, shipments labeled humanitarian aid routed to Belgium, Dubai, and Cyprus. The children weren't just trafficked. They were being used for medical experiments, all under a global health initiative that had been praised by the UN and WHO. Michael contacted an international human rights agency. At first, they were eager to help until they saw the files. Then everything changed. Redacted agency spokesperson. "We can't support you on this. You're dealing with state-backed actors. If we get involved, we're next." 3 NGOs immediately pulled out. One whistleblower was found dead in a hotel room in Nairobi. The report from Chinaza? Discredited by a planted psychiatric evaluation. Studio microphone narrator. Michael had nowhere left to turn, except to one person. An anonymous contact offered to help, arranged a private meeting in Ghana. And when Michael walked into the dimly lit cafe, he froze. It was David Osifo, the man who'd been declared dead in custody, Pastor Benjamin's son, Stephanie's ex-fiancé. David, they never wanted me dead. They wanted me disappeared. And now they want you. David admitted it all. The fake death, the silence, the price of betraying the circle. But what he said next changed everything. David, Stephanie was pregnant, but not with my child. She was being used like the rest. And when she found out who the father really was, she snapped. Michael's heart dropped, because according to David, the man who assaulted Stephanie, the real father of her unborn child, wasn't just a church elder. David, it was your uncle, your mother's brother, the one funding her healing center. She knew. She begged her not to speak. Michael realized his mother's silence all these years wasn't grief. It was guilt. Stephanie had told her everything, and she chose silence over shame, reputation over justice. Back in Abuja, Michael receives a second USB drive in a plain envelope. Inside, video footage from 2017, a secret underground operating room. Stephanie on camera, crying, bleeding, pleading, "Please tell Michael. If I die here, tell him I tried." Michael dropped to the floor. The person recording that video spoke just once before turning off the camera. The harvest begins in Lagos next. Michael traced the voice in the video to a man named Elijah, the architect Kazim, a former civil engineer turned cult logistics coordinator. Kazim had overseen church renovations, but also secret underground expansions beneath Lagos. Blueprints recovered from a decommissioned city archive revealed something chilling: hidden tunnels, medical rooms, holding cells, underground access points beneath, 3 churches, 2 schools, and 1 government rehabilitation center. The files called it the Network. Locals knew it by another name, the Spirit Vein. In just 4 months, 17 girls had gone missing within a 5-mile radius of the old Abuja district. No bodies, no demands, no press. One girl's mother, Mrs. Abad, kept posting flyers. She claimed her daughter disappeared after attending a sleepover Bible retreat. Her post got 0 media attention until Michael reached out. Michael, along with a local ex-police informant named Tito, traced the retreat group to an abandoned event center with a false floor. What they found wasn't just a tunnel entrance. It was a transport system built using old storm drain lines, retrofitted with security cameras, ventilation, and soundproofing. GoPro footage shows a steel-plated trapdoor, bloodstains, walls with scratch marks, blank ID tags labeled Initiate 034 050. They were still down there, still alive. Kazim's files revealed one last event, coded as Seed Night, a final purification ceremony, scheduled for July 30th at 2 a.m., just 3 days away. Tito, from recording, they bring the donors in masks. The girls are drugged. Some don't survive the night. This wasn't religion. It was ritual abuse sold as salvation. Michael now had a chance to shut it all down, blow the tunnels, burn the network. But doing so meant risking the lives of the girls still inside. Michael, in voice memo, "I want to burn it all. But what if I kill the very girls I swore to protect?" He needed help, but no police would go near it. So he called the only people who would, ex-soldiers he'd saved from false charges during his investigation in Kaduna. July 30th, 1:58 a.m. Armed with masks, body cams, and no backup, they breached the tunnel's main artery under a church warehouse. Dozens of girls chained, some sedated, an altar-like stage prepared. Donors in black robes already seated. Screams, gunshots, smoke. In just 18 minutes, they rescued 21 girls. 5 were barely alive. One was Amina Gabra, again. But as they tried to exit, a blast sealed off the south tunnel. A voice approaching Michael, saying, "You finally made it to the core. Now, let's see if you can handle the route." A secret chamber, a wall lined with photos, names, blood types, serial numbers, and a mural of Stephanie Adeyemi. They weren't just collecting girls. They were creating a profile, harvesting genetic traits, building something, a dusty folder titled Project Genesis Final Generation Protocol, co-signed by a foreign biotech company. Inside the folder, DNA reports of rescued girls, notes referencing CRISPR gene editing, terms like obedience conditioning, biological compliance, and neuromodulated faith response. Lab addresses in Abuja, Canada, and Dubai. They weren't just abusing the girls. They were collecting bloodlines, looking for the perfect psychological subject, docile, devout, and fertile, a new generation of humans who obey without question. The files link Project Genesis to a registered biotech firm in Montreal, a company that had received multi-million-dollar grants for neurological behavioral studies in developing countries. On the board, 2 respected researchers, one former WHO consultant, and shockingly, a Nigerian senator's wife who had once run a Save the Girl Child campaign. While the world applauded them, they were building an obedient, controlled future, one girl at a time. Back in Lagos, Michael and his team leaked the documents to 3 global media outlets, all anonymously, but just before publishing. 2 were hacked. Only one outlet, based in Iceland, went public. Headline: Biotech Conspiracy. African girls used in genetic obedience experiments. The fallout was immediate. Protests, arrests, public outrage. But the mastermind, Elijah Kazim, vanished, and 17 other donors listed in the Deep Circle files never prosecuted. Michael helped over 50 girls find new homes, new identities. Amina survived, so did Chinaza, but Michael could never go home again. He lives in hiding now, under protection, still hunted. Final voice note from Michael. They tried to make monsters, but I gave those girls back their names. This story began with one woman, Stephanie Adeyemi. Her courage ignited a reckoning. Her death gave birth to truth. She didn't die in vain. Final photo. Stephanie smiling in her lab coat. Captioned, "She told the truth. They buried her, but it grew back stronger." To every girl silenced by power, to every whistleblower in the dark, you are not alone. What are your thoughts on this case? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay updated with more stories, where each case isn't just about crime, but also offers a lesson for life.